all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down.
So in that moment, the former president last week apparently confusing Nikki Haley with former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who was at the Capitol building on January 6th. Haley pounced on that, calling again for competency tests for candidates over 75. Here's what the former president said about that when I talked to him in New Hampshire as well. Watch this.
Well, I think I'm a lot sharper than her. I would do this. I would sit down right now and take an aptitude test, and it would be my result against her result, and she's not going to win. She's not going to even come close to winning.
So you get the feel for where that whole debate is going and how much it might play into the campaign going forward. But now Nancy Pelosi came out and she accused former President Trump of having cognitive disorders. But then she had her own when she made the comment about it. Can't make this up. Watch.
He tried to say that Nikki Haley did not allow the National Guard to come, but it was Nancy Pelosi. It was nobody. It was Joe. It was Donald Trump.
It was Joe. And then it was Donald Trump. All right, let's bring in Ohio Republican Senator J.D. Vance. Senator, always good to see you. Thank you very much for being here. You got a lot of folks accusing each other of not being too sharp, and there are several older folks who are involved in this race. So what do you make of this? Because no doubt now you've got Nikki Haley going after President Trump, and obviously the questions about President Biden.
Well, first of all, Martha, the substance of the attack is absurd. I give a lot of speeches. Donald Trump gives a lot of speeches. Sometimes you misspeak. That's not because of cognitive impairment. It's because sometimes you misspeak when you offer thousands of words a day out on the campaign trail. Nobody who talks to Donald Trump would believe that he is cognitively impaired. He's as sharp as a tack. He's very energetic, and I think he has the energy not just to win the presidency, but to govern. But this actually drives home, Martha, one of the fundamental problems with Nikki Haley's campaign. Does she think that falsely accusing Donald Trump of being impaired in some way is actually going to help elect her president? Of course it's not. What it's going to do is prolong this primary campaign longer than it needs to. It's going to waste money that could be going to be defeating Joe Biden and helping Senate Republicans across the country. What she's doing is giving the Democrats talking points because she's too proud to admit that her campaign has failed and voters have rejected her. That's not a recipe for Republican success. That's a recipe for Nikki Haley's ego, and we don't need any of it.
You know, we get to this point a lot in campaigns over the years, which I have covered several of them now. So where one party, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, they decide it's time to push everybody out. And granted, very difficult path for Nikki Haley at this point. New Hampshire was clearly the best state that she had to make her argument in. But what difference does it make if she wants to spend a few more weeks on the campaign trail and see how well she can do in her home state? It feels like between this effort at the RNC to push her out and all of this, that, it's not. Is this healthy, do you think, for your party?
So I do think it's healthy, Martha, for this reason, because we know who the nominee is going to be. Voters have spoken in Iowa and New Hampshire. They're going to speak all over the country. So really the question is not, is Donald Trump the nominee? He will be. The question is, how many resources do we waste on a fruitless campaign, and how many do we actually devote to defeating the Democrats in November? Every single dollar that Nikki Haley siphons off from Republican donors, that's money that we're not spending on Senate Republicans to help us take back the majority on the Republican side. That's money that we're not spending to defeat Joe Biden. So I think it's healthy for the party to say, at a certain point, voters have made clear the party wants to go in a particular direction. It wants to go in the direction of Donald Trump. So let's help him rather than use the party resources to hurt him.
I understand your point, and we'll see where that goes. I want to ask you, this is a soundbite from the UAW president, Shawn Fain, who is coming after the former president, saying that he doesn't stand with the American worker. I know that you supported these workers when they walked out. Here's Shawn Fain. I want to get your reaction to this.
Nowhere in history has Donald Trump ever stood for the American worker. He stands against pretty much everything that we stand for.
We know Joe Biden really wants to get the union back on his side. This is going to be one of the battles we're watching. What do you think about it, Senator?
Well, first of all, I believe during that same interview, Martha, Sean Fain said that a majority of his workers would actually be voting for Donald Trump. So he might want to trust his own workers, who I think are voting with their feet and saying that Donald Trump was a great president for workers and he would be again. Here's the fundamental problem with Sean Fain's approach. Every time we subsidize electric vehicles that are made in China, union workers in the state of Ohio and across the country lose their bargaining power and they lose their jobs. Joe Biden's green energy agenda has been a massive subsidy to the middle class in China, built off the backs of the middle class in Ohio and all across the Midwest. If you're an auto worker in Michigan or Ohio, you want good jobs, you want fair wages, you want bargaining power, you better elect Donald Trump for president because Joe Biden is trying to ship your job overseas. It's that simple.
Well, it's a subject you know well. You've written about it for a long time, and it's going to be at the heart of getting those rural voters, union voters in many of these states as we go through this election. So, Senator, thank you very much. It's always good to talk to you. Thanks for coming
Likewise. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.